On this episode of the 5P podcast, I'm your host, Michael J. Penney. I'm joined by Mr. Stephen Kuhn of QOL Enterprises, Quality of Life Enterprises. Stephen Kuhn is a U.S. Army veteran. He has a great, wonderful backstory about how he got out of the military, went into business, grew his business. He is an international business leader. I've been very excited to have him on the show. So without further ado, Mr. Stephen Kuhn, welcome to the 5P podcast.
Thank you, my friend. Awesome, Michael. Great to be here.
Excellent. Let's start with a little bit of background here. You served in the U.S. Army, correct? And what unit were you in?
Yeah, right. Well, I served in the U.S. Army in the old days, so 1986 to 1993. So I went in the Cold War in the Armor Corps, stationed in Germany with 333 Armor, 8th Cav, and then I went on to Berlin Brigade, and I went on to that after 364 Armor. All of them are in Germany, and I did a tour in Iraq with 8th Cavalry as well.
And that was in the Gulf War, correct?
Operation Desert Storm. Yes, that one that most people forget about.
Hoorah. Yeah, but it's one of those fabled and feared moments throughout U.S. Marine Corps and Army history where we align there in the desert, and you rolling around out in a tank out in the middle of the desert trying to coordinate with people and all of that other stuff. I'm sure that it was a hair-raising experience being out there.
It was, but remember while we were out there, we got the Garvin handheld GPS, and it wasn't like it is now with maps and everything. It was literally just drive straight, drive left, drive straight, drive left. And in the desert that works because there's no trees, there's nothing there, so you can just literally drive right through the desert to get where you want to go. Right. So that really helped us out, especially because at nighttime we had to drive in blackout. We couldn't use lights and everything, so we literally drove a mile an hour, driving in front of us.
Right.
Or anything. So yeah, it was a different world. We had no cell phones, no computers, so I remember I called home one time illegally using the Mars phone. The Mars phone is a radio satellite set up in the commander's vehicle, and the antenna is about 50 feet high, and so you have to go patch through an operator and use a satellite and everything. It's crazy. Nowadays I can't imagine being in war and like your wife calling you in the middle of a battle or something. I just can't imagine.
It's still very much so one-sided in calling out. Unfortunately, we couldn't get text messages from Honey. Or maybe, fortunately, I don't know. Some of us hide it pretty well how happy we are to be on deployment.
Yeah, I would say fortunately, no, I wouldn't want that. That would be amazing. That would be really difficult.
So when you transitioned out, you stayed near where you were stationed. So where were you stationed? How'd you transition out? What were the first businesses that you got into?
Well, when I transitioned out, I was in Schweinfurt, but I had been in Berlin a year before that. And I was stationed there, and I loved it. I loved Berlin. And I didn't want to go back to the States yet because I sort of wasn't finished. I was 27 years old thinking, man, if I go back now with my tail between my legs, what am I going to do? And I realized really quick that because I spoke a little bit of German, because I was on the inner German border, that the German that I spoke really helped me while I was in the military get special jobs like translate for the mayor, translate for the governor, things like that. So I said, well, let me give it a try in Germany. So I did a European out, meaning I out processed in Germany, walked off base, and I was a civilian. So I didn't even out process back in America. And I out processed in Schweinfurt, drove the 9 hours north to Berlin at the time. Took 9 hours, and just started my life. And my life started pretty quickly in the restaurant and bar business. And I opened up my own bar less than 3 years later. And I ended up, owning that bar and 3 more for almost 10 years, so.
Goodness.
Yeah. And well, of course, in those 10 years, I ended up getting involved in bringing corporation from South Africa to Germany, bringing another corporation from the UK to Germany, and it just kept extrapolating. And it was all because of one thing. And that was every time I have a personal interaction with anyone, and I did this even when I was in the military, which is strange, but I always felt like, man, you know what? If everyone around me is in a good mood, then I'm always in a good mood. So why don't I just make sure everybody's in a good mood? So, for me, it was like simple. And that's what I did. I always elevated people, made them feel good, made sure that when I left them, that they were in a better mood or a better conscious state of mind than when I met them. And that really paid off. I didn't realize what I was doing because I was doing it selfishly until I started getting these offers like, hey, Steven, you're a bartender. would you help me bring a corporation from South Africa to Germany? Okay. You know, that matches, not at all, but sure, let's do it. And we did it, and I crushed it. And then another company said, hey, can you do it for us too? And it just went from there.